Thank you, Lawton. I would like to move right along here and welcome Jerry Burnet, the NAACP Political Action Chair for Alabama. I want to recognize all of the workers here. It is for the workers that we stand.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's terribly important that we remember as well that many of us stand here with the privilege of being able to take time off or even get paid time to stand out here when others are toiling and stand in jeopardy of losing their work if they even speak out for their own rights.
That's right. That's right.
We are fortunate to be able to stand here together, but let us remember as well, not only our brothers and sisters standing out here in this square who have come and gathered from all across Alabama, but also those who cannot be with us. We lift their spirits up in this space as well.
Yeah.
And as we know, there's a terrible irony happening with voting rights here in Alabama.
Right.
As we stand here honoring 50-year anniversaries and 60-year anniversaries of momentous events in which Alabama and Montgomery in particular led the way in ensuring the rights of all individuals to have the right to vote. Today we stand in the shadow of a building where men and women are deliberately taking that right away from poor people, people of color, people of advanced age, people with disabilities, anyone who stands with a disadvantage because they lack the financial resources and the power is at risk of losing their right to vote because of the men and women working right now to ensure the entrenchment of the power for people who hold power. So we stand here holding accountable both Democrats and Republicans who fail to stand up for all of Alabama's citizens. I am not on the agenda today. Let me step aside and invite Mr. Jerry Burnet to come and say a few words to us about voting rights.
Thank you. I want to thank our legislators who are here today. Legislator, please raise your hand. I want to talk briefly about, she said I had 3 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it to 3. Okay, I want to talk just 3 minutes. She said I had 3 minutes, so I'm on the clock. Now, the right to vote is one of the most cherished rights of citizenships in the United States and the basis of our democratic form of government. As the Supreme Court stated over a century ago, the right to vote is a fundamental political right. Along with that, it gives us the power to preserve all our other rights. We cannot have a fair and a just democracy or a government of the people, for the people, by the people, without the people having some say-so as to who will represent them in the government. Yet throughout our history, too many Americans have been denied that basic right. Voting rights for African Americans living in the South have been an uphill struggle since Reconstruction. For women in the early part of the 20th century, and for Latinos in the 1970s, Native Americans in the 1920s, and Asian Americans following World War II, all had to fight to be included in the American form of government. The 15th Amendment to the Constitution adopted in 1870 guaranteed the right to vote regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Yet the amendment alone has not assured minorities the right to vote without the collapse of Reconstruction and the imposition of government-sanctioned segregation laws. Many southern states used a variety of techniques, including literacy tests, poll tax, intimidation, threats, and violence to keep African Americans from voting. The drive to win meaningful access to the franchise was therefore among the civil rights movement's top priority. Until 1965, federal laws did not challenge the authority of states and localities to establish and administer their own voting requirements. Throughout the South, many African Americans suffered from beating, lynchings, and disappearance by hands of the unknown. The most critical campaign in the fight for voting rights took place about 50 miles west of here in a town called Selma, Alabama. In 1965, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. joined the drive, Congress began considering voting rights legislation as active mounted on an intense campaign. Many were beaten and jailed. On the night of February 18, 1965, an African-American marcher and a Vietnam veteran by the name of Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot in the stomach and later died by an Alabama state trooper. Activists planned 50-mile march from Selma here to the state capitol. The march was to begin on March the 7th, led by Mr. Jose Williams of SCLC and John Lewis, now Congressman John Lewis of Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The 600 marchers were met by a sea of Alabama state troopers, many of them mounted on horses and swinging clubs and firing tear gas. That day became known to us as Bloody Sunday. But these dedicated activists did not let that stop them, because they was determined to have their voting rights. They regrouped and reorganized, and on Sunday, March 21, a new Selma Montgomery march began, this time with hundreds of whites as well as blacks, many movie stars and celebrities joining in. On that final day of the march, about 25,000 marchers walked here into the city of Montgomery, and on August the 6th, 1965, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act. Now, I know my 3 minutes is about up, but I want to say this. We're going to have to start learning to vote regular, and we're going to have to vote smart. We have too many politicians in office today. We have too many politicians in office who should not be here, and they would not be here had that 68% of the people who stayed at home and allowed 32% make a decision. The only way forward is at the ballot box. And we do that best when we come out, like we're going to come out on March 1. And we're going to vote, and we're going to vote just like we plan to move forward. All right, now thank you.